All right, we have a fun one for you guys today. So, in honor of the Tampa Pro and the Sam Sulek, David Lade, and Sebum collab, I was like, what can I talk about? Like, there's been some interesting stuff going on. And then I was like, man, everybody's always asking me about genetics. They don't really understand, like, what makes good genetics? What makes bad genetics? They want explanations for these things. And I was like, oh, I'll just use people that you guys know and we'll talk about what makes their genetics good, better, worse. Obviously, the people we're talking about already have good genetics, right? You don't get to be top of the line social media sphere and people like love looking at your physique without having a very, very good set of genetics.
But
What separates the top? What separates the cream of the crop from the rest of the population? But then what separates the cream from the cream? What's the pure essence of the physiques that we look for on a bodybuilding stage? And so, one Punch Nas, also known as Niall Darwin, just won the Tampa Pro. And now a lot of people are saying, this guy's probably going to get in the top 5 in the Olympia now. Seen that being passed around? I don't know if I agree. I love the guy. The guy seems like a really, really good guy. Is he going to make top 5? I don't know. And I hope he proves me wrong. I legitimately do. I hope he proves me wrong because that would make for a great follow-up. You guys could all make fun of me.
But
As it stands right now, I don't know if he has it in him to take a top 5 placing because there is very, very solid competition right now. But why is that? What is it about his physique? Because everybody's like, oh, he has the smallest waist. He has. Let's talk about it. Let's go through some of the things about his physique right now. All right. So this is his Instagram. Obviously, absolutely incredible physique. The stuff that you see right here, this one right here, that's from the Olympia last year. This is more from the Tampa Pro. If we take a look at Niall's physique, obviously the standout feature is the tiny waist into sweeping lats. Phenomenal, great quad sweep as well.
but
What sort of things separate him a little bit, not in a good way, but like keep him from having that next level physique that we see somebody like Sebum have? The way his lats actually sweep up, it's a little bit narrow. It like goes out, but then it comes kind of upright a little bit. I know I'm being nitpicky, but you have to be at the top level. Back double bi is obviously very good, but lacks a little bit relative to some of the other athletes in terms of actual thickness to the lats. Quad sweep, good.
but
His actual definition in the quads is a little bit less than some of the other competitors. He doesn't have quite as much separation. So even though he's very lean, separation is something that people don't talk about enough. And separation is different from actual conditioning. And he lacks a little bit of that in the lower half. Take a look at the side pose. It's good, but there's going to be other people that have a little bit more thickness through those poses. Overall, absolute top contender. He will do well at the Olympia.
but
Is he going to crack into the top 5? Let me know in the comments. Maybe I end up being wrong and he surprises everybody and takes a top 3 placing. If he does, that'd be amazing. And I'm going to be cheering for him regardless.
but
Definitely somebody be on the watch for, not just for this year, but for the years to come. Next person. Let's talk about Sebum. As you can see, when you take a look at this, it's like over here was when he was starting his competitive career and obviously was looking pretty good. This is kind of, I would say, between here and here is where Niall is, right? So this is Sebum in his early start. Obviously, good muscle, good thickness,
but
missing a little bit of that
manly.
muscle quality, which he obviously had in this photo right here. And I think Niall fits somewhere in around here. Doesn't quite have the overall thickness and density that somebody like Sebum does, which is something that will come over time. It's definitely going to. And obviously when I say density, I think somebody's gonna take a look at this and be like, how dare you? That's pseudoscientific. I'm talking about the look. I'm talking about the look, okay? I think that's something that will come over time. And if we take a look, Sebum is just super, super good from every single angle. And that's where people get mixed up because they'll be like, oh, but this person has a better front double. This person has a better. It's because no matter what angle you put Sebum at, he looks amazing, right? Perfect X frame, great quad sweep, lat sweep. Everything looks really good. Even his biceps, which a lot of people rag on, are not that bad, right? Like it's like they're not going to be the best biceps you've ever seen.
But
They don't distract enough from the look for it not to be good. And then you have just the conditioning. His conditioning is always top tier. Like I know this photo is a little bit edited, obviously, but you can see just the overall separation, definition that he brings to the stage. second to none. His side chest is just like, what is going on in that leg right there? Look at all of that definition, that glute, like all the way through and around here. You can't beat it. Like, you can try and match it, but I honestly don't know if I've ever seen a better looking side chest. Somebody's gonna find somebody and be like, oh, you missed this guy. I honestly think this is the best one I've ever seen. So, oh, and here's a good example of what we were talking about before. All right, so you know how I said that I didn't think that Niall had the thickness of guys who are like at the very, very, like, you can see it here. If you can't see it when you take a look at this photo, I don't know what else would be more indicative of the differences that I'm referring to. It's just on another level. Now, could he be somebody that gets to that level at some point? Maybe.
But
this is the standard, and it is mind-blowing. All right, let us move on to Sam Sulek. Does Sam have incredible genetics? I honestly don't really think so. I know that's going to be a hot take, because I've heard people say before, like, oh, his genetics are just incredible. And I'm like, it's possible to say that his genetics are incredible relative to maybe the average person, but once you start getting to the pro level, I don't think Sam is going to be a standout. Now, there's a few different reasons for this. If you take a look, Sam won his IFBB Pro card as a classic physique athlete. Sam had to cap out his weight class in order to do that. And even then, people questioned whether he should have gotten it. That suggests to me that he does not have the aesthetics to be able to compete in classic physique in the long run. If you are well under weight cap, that's one thing. It's like, okay, well, you have a lot of room to grow and build out your aesthetics in order to have certain body parts come up, other body parts maybe don't like need as much attention. And then you can almost shape the physique a little bit into classic. He doesn't have that luxury. Yes, he has an additional 10 pounds now that he's pro. I don't think it's enough. I think he would have needed to be significantly under weight cap in order to build out a physique that could resemble something that's going to be a top level classic physique in the long run. Which, of course, then people will say, okay, well, what about open? You have to understand, and I do not know Sam's dosing. I don't know exactly how much he's been taking.
what?
Open is so much bigger. It's hard to really fathom how different it is until you see people next to each other. The amount that he would have to gain tissue-wise in order to take it to that level. Let me show you something. I know what's going to happen is somebody's going to take a look at this overall video, and I'm just rambling, right? Somebody's going to take a look at this overall video and they're going to be like, wow, you're such a hater. It's like, I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just trying to talk through the way that these conversations go in my head when I'm looking at athletes and what I think they're capable of doing. You're free to disagree and have a lively discussion in the comments about how I'm an idiot.
What?
These are the types of things that go through my head. So let us take a look at somebody else who ended up being a top level guy in the long run in open bodybuilding and what he looked like kind of as a younger athlete. Like, it's just the level that you see of some of these guys who became top level open bodybuilders in the long run when they were younger. You can see it immediately, right? The structures are just different. They have more sweep, they have wider clavicles, narrower relative waist. Jay's not even known for having a narrow waist, but because he was so wide up top, it made the waist look at least proportional in the sense that he could, because obviously, like, you take a look at this and you're like, oh, well, that's not a narrow waist. It's like, but that's how big he was up top. So I don't think that Sam has the ability to take it to that next level in open bodybuilding where he could be a legitimate Olympia contender.
What?
Again, I would love for myself to be proven wrong in that sense because, you know, everybody loves an underdog, right? Now, let us think. Who should we look at next? I had a list of people. David Lade, because I'll hear people say all the time, oh, well, David Lade just has incredible genetics. And while I don't disagree that he has incredible genetics for Instagram, I honestly don't think he has incredible genetics for bodybuilding. So the first thing you have to look at when it comes to David is he does have a very, very nice looking frame, right? Narrow waist, wide clavicles, and then when you build the muscle on top of that, it's going to look very, very aesthetic.
What?
You run into a few issues when you take a look at the overall physique. First and foremost, legs are small. Let's call a spade a spade. I'm not trying to be a hater. Yes, they have good lines going through because of the fact that he's lean, or at least was. Obviously, these are all old photos. They were never big. Then you have to take a look at, okay, what happens when this physique stands next to people that truly have a lot of muscle? All right, so here's a guy who you can see David collabing with. I wish they were, I wish they...
I wish David didn't have his clothes on, because
it'd make it much easier to see. But this is him collabing with a guy named Axel. Obviously, Austin, if you can find a higher quality like image of this. So this is him collabing with Axel. And if you take a look at Axel, all right, but if you see kind of the way that, I know it's harder to see because obviously he's fully dressed, but if you saw these two standing next to each other with them both in a tank top, you would immediately see the differences between these two physiques, right? Axel wider is going to have a little bit more pop to his muscles. Everything's going to come together a little bit better in a bodybuilding sense. And I don't think that David Lade necessarily has that. So what does make David Lade so popular? Or I should say, what does make him so aesthetic? To be blunt, most people don't want to be a bodybuilder. What do most people want? They want to be lean. They want to have a six-pack. They want to have a good chest, good shoulders, and he has all of those things. So that is good. And they want to be tall. And they want to have a good jawline. Like, he is, to put it bluntly, he is the black pill ideal, or at least was. I'm sure they have moved on past that point, and now they're like looking at people who have actual squares for heads and being like, that's the ideal.
what?
If we take a look at it, that is what people are after. They like the taper, the nice waist, abs, shoulders, big chest. Like, he has the features that are going to be the things that people look at the most, what I call the Instagram muscles, but they don't necessarily translate to the stage. So yes, David Lade has incredible genetics for that aspect, but not necessarily incredible genetics for bodybuilding. What do incredibly good bodybuilding genetics look like? Let me show you who I think are the top in the world right now for actual bodybuilding genetics. We have Mike Sommerfeld. Now, Mike Sommerfeld competed against Sebum, and I don't think people actually realized how close this matchup was. Because obviously Sebum has the aura surrounding him, I don't think people realize how much Mike actually pushed him at the last Olympia. And Mike is probably only going to get better from here on out.
What?
Look at that. Look at that structure. The shoulders super wide, waist super narrow, and then the sweep coming out of the lats. That is something you cannot teach, right? You either have it or you don't. You obviously take a look, like the actual muscularity here. His legs in particular are not just big, but they're shapely. So if you take a look, this is him before he was at the top level. And what do you see here? You see a good sweep out and a good sweep in, good separation. You get to see everything. And that's before he moved into what is now his final form. So you can tell, and this is where I think people get mixed up. They're like, oh, well, they'll develop that later. Some things are going to be there from the beginning, and then they're just getting bigger. You guys do with that what you will.
What?
As he gets bigger, it's just going to show it more and more. And so you take a look at this, like his quads, in my opinion, when you take a look at him next to a guy like Sebum even, his quads overall have a nicer aesthetic to them. Sure, you can say that Sebum has a little bit grainier quads, a little bit more vascularity, so it gives it a little bit more of a freak factor, but the actual aesthetics of these are nicer. So this guy, in my opinion, has the best genetics in classic physique right now, because he has everything they're looking for. Perfect X frame, a lot of muscle, good watermelon sweep quads. It's just absolutely ideal. And then the next person who has, in my opinion, the best bodybuilding genetics in the world is Keon Pearson. Like, if you look at this, just take a look at this photo right here and tell me, when you take a look at this, that there's something wrong with him, right? The only thing that I have seen people complain about this guy's physique that I think is a legitimate, but it's his abdomen, right? So let me show you what I'm talking about. His abs are a little bit split, so it looks a little bit funny. So here's a good, if you take a look here, you can see that there's a pretty hefty split down between his abs. And the only other thing, and this is my thing that I notice when I take a look at Keon. All right, so you see this? That's the one thing I notice with Keon is his one lat almost, it's not perfectly symmetrical. It comes out a little bit more than the other, so you don't get like a perfectly even sweep outwards. And that's it. That's it. That is how good this guy is as a bodybuilder. And he's only getting better. Some background sources, some background ins. So I get to see like some of his off-season stuff and like get to hear about his numbers and all that from an inside source. And he just continuously gets better. I think we are looking at somebody who, in the long run, I think we are looking at somebody who could be the next. I don't want to speak too boldly, but I think we have somebody who could take a top 5 bodybuilders of all time in the long run if he grows enough overall size. Right now, that is the only question mark. The shape, the aesthetics, everything else is there. The only question is he going to get to the point where he is big enough to be one of the best of all time, if not the best of all time? And I think he has a legitimate shot at it. He's a little bit shorter, 5'6", 5'5", those are the numbers you typically see. So obviously when you have the same proportions as somebody who's 5'10", if you're 5'5" or 5'6", then you are going to probably lose that battle just because of the fact that that person's going to have a bigger, more commanding presence on stage. But obviously bodybuilding still allows for people who are a little bit shorter, as long as their overall size and proportions are right, to be at the top level. And I think that he has a very, very real shot at being one of, if not the best of all time in the long run. That is what I think crazy, amazing genetics looks like. Now let's talk about something else, which is you'll have people all the time, they'll talk about these individual bodybuilders and they'll be like, oh, well, don't you think that this guy's going to do this? Don't you think this guy? And it's like, there's always something missing about their physique because they're like, oh, no, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Okay, you're looking at them from a particular angle and you're missing out on the overall picture. So we need to talk about a few of the guys who are like amazing genetically from certain standpoints, but they're missing other things that kind of hold them back. First person, you cannot not talk about this person in this regard. And that is Rubiel Mascara. If you do not know who that is, he goes by the name Neckzilla on social media. He is a true freak of nature. You take a look, oh, cool. A picture of him as if he was standing next to Keon. So the quads are absolutely out of this world. You see why they call him Neckzilla now, eh? It's this absolute trunk of a neck that he has here. But if you take a look at him overall, his body looks awkward, and that's where he's going to struggle. A lot of people are like, oh, but he's so big, and they take a look at him next to other people, and he does dwarf a lot of people. And the legs, he will never lose a size competition in the legs. What? One of the things that he will struggle with, and this is something we alluded to earlier. So take a look at him standing next to these other guys, right? His quads are ugly, if I'm being completely honest. So take a look at Crizzo's legs right here. Yes, Crizzo has much smaller legs, right? Like nobody is comparing to Rubiel when it comes to actual size. But take a look at the lines that go through here. Take a look at the sartorius, take a look at the rec fem, the vastus medialis. All of the separation is really, really good. And here it just kind of like mangles together. You can't see too much in terms of like actual definition here. So he's always going to have that holding him back. And then obviously like his back is not quite as good as some of the other guys. That is something he can develop in the long run. He has good muscle mass, but he's always going to struggle because of the awkwardness of his physique. But in poses like this is where he really stands out, right? Side poses, look at how much muscle there is here. The legs are obviously incredible. They actually have like overall decent aesthetics from the side. Still like look a little bit funny, but they look pretty good. And then obviously in the upper, he has a lot of size here. It shows off his strong points. His arms, shoulders, and chest kind of hides the fact that his back might not quite be as good as some of the other competitors. So he's one of those guys who will always be in that conversation. for what about this? Maybe this year. And it's like, I don't think that he'll be able to be that guy in the long run who takes an Olympia title because of the awkwardness of the overall shape and look.
But
He will always kind of be flitting on the outside of, well, what if? He has some of the most interesting genetics that I have seen. Let's get to another interesting genetics. And this one's a little bit different because he is actually somebody who I love his physique. I've said on the record, if I could have one person's physique, it would be this guy's physique. Stefan Matella. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. That is sick. That is disgusting in the best way. Arms, incredible. Chest, incredible. Quads, incredible. Like all of it just looks so nice. Like I really like the grainy textured appearance, and this guy has it in spades. And I think that this physique is one of the most interesting ones because it's just like you see it and you're just like, oh, what am I looking at? Like that just, it looks cool, right? It's a very, very unique physique.
but
He's probably going to struggle because of this, right? We got a Kevin Levrone situation going on where it's like, oh, well, I don't understand. Why is he not a top Olympia competitor? He's got great quads, got great arms, got a great chest, lats. He is going to struggle to crack into that next level because he does not have the taper of a lot of these other competitors. And that is going to be a struggle for him. Could he possibly get to the point where other body parts are so good that he's still able to step on stage next to these guys and do a decent job? Of course.
but
That is something that is so heavily prioritized in bodybuilding, is having that sweep and that really like super wide frame up top coming into a narrower waist. He's going to be fighting an uphill battle for the rest of his life because of that. I hope that he can overcome it because I think his physique is absolutely sick. And the last one that I wanted to talk about is another person who, like some of the people I've been telling you about, kind of always is in that top like 10-ish conversation. He's a bit older bodybuilder, does well, but he never has cracked. I don't think he's ever done like a top 3 at the Olympia. But he's cracked the top 10, and people like, he goes to pro shows and wins them pretty handily a lot, and people are like, oh well, maybe, I don't know. I'll just show you. Like you might not understand exactly why it is, but you'll see it as soon as you see his physique. And that's Bonac. It's like you see it immediately, right? When you see him, especially when he hits poses like this, you're like, oh, okay, like I see why this guy has never. A lot of people would not look at that physique and be like, oh, that's like a top 10 competitor in the world, or like somebody who can step on the Olympia stage. And because his physique looks awkward, right? It doesn't have nice flow, nice aesthetics.
but
What he does have is he has a lot of pop to a lot of muscle groups. And so when you see that next to other people, William is one of the few people who actually looks better next to people than by himself. Like a lot of people will look good on their own, and then they'll stand next to other people like, oh, it's not that impressive. He's the opposite. Once you actually get him standing next to other people, he shows how much muscle a physique can have, and also makes other people look less impressive because of the fact that they don't necessarily have the same thickness and density to their physique. Him standing next to Nick Walker, at first you'd be like, oh, well, Nick Walker, he's just obviously like blowing people out of the water. But then you watch a video of them against each other, and it's like, yeah, Nick Walker is a bigger human being. But then as they get into some of their poses, you start to see, oh, okay, like, dang, like those biceps are actually crazy. You take a look and you say, oh, his conditioning is actually really solid. It's like, okay, his midsection is pretty decent. And then you take a look here and you're like, oh, man, those arms have a lot of pop to them. So you start to see kind of what happens when he gets on stage next to others. Back has a lot of detail and thickness to it. It's really interesting to watch a guy like that show up repeatedly year after year, never really get the credit, or at least as much credit as he could, because of the fact that his physique is not the prettiest on its own.
but
Very interesting genetic situation, because there's not really anything he can do other than get bigger. It's tough because he's a guy who I feel like has just been working so hard in the background and doesn't necessarily get the credit that he deserves, because he's always in that top conversation, and people who aren't even as good as him on a stage often get talked about a lot more. Wow, I feel like we've been talking for a while. I don't know. When I get talking about this stuff, I just find it so interesting and fascinating. I know people are like, bodybuilding is not a real sport. Like, well, I'm like, I don't care. I just find it interesting. It's like I'm taking a look at these physiques, and it's like I don't know. I don't know, man. Bodybuilding is so niche, but in my opinion, I shouldn't say in my opinion. It like you either are in it or you aren't, right? If you're not interested in it, like you're almost all the way out. And if you're interested, you're all the way in. There's very little middle ground when it comes to bodybuilding. So this might be completely boring for a lot of you. And that's completely fine, because sometimes I just want to make videos that I'm interested in, right? I want to talk about things that are just like I'm really passionate about. This video will probably get like 5,000 views, right? It's probably not going to go to anybody.
What?
I had fun making it and talking about this and seeing, man, like I want to talk about bodybuilding more actually. I know you guys might not be as interested in that.
What?
Video topics that you are interested in, I would like you to drop in the comments, because I want to start making this YouTube channel the best YouTube channel on the internet when it comes to fitness, health, nutrition, everything else. So drop any ideas that you have in mind, and I'm going to start really like we've been hammering down on YouTube. Thank you, Austin. You've been doing great.
What?
I want to take it to the next level, guys. I want this to become the YouTube channel. Like Jesse James West, who's that? Will Tennyson, who's that? Jeff Nippard, who's that? That's what this is going to be in the long run. And you guys are going to help me get there, whether you like it or not. As always, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. TNF Out.